Hello everybody and welcome to FISHTORY. What a weird way to start an episode, eh? Yeah, well today we are looking at lots of live culture food from my ponds out back. So we have everything here from mosquito larvae, and particularly they are a kind that are stuck in their infancy and just haven't ever grown into mosquitoes all summer long. And then we also have the smaller critters, which are ostrocods or seed shrimp, as well as daphnia, which are the ones that move kind of jilted or jerky. And obviously you'll see these close-ups. And then the ones with the tails are going to be your cyclops, which are a fascinating critter on their own, but these ones are all very small. And my thought is that they're small because it is winter and there's a lot less algae in the cold tanks that they're living in, the cold aquariums and tubs that they've been living in. So in the spirit of Thanksgiving, let's use a turkey baster and come over here and grab up some samples of what we're working with food-wise. We'll get a nice little sample in the turkey baster, and we will bring it up to the fish tank. Sorry guys, I know we're really zoomed in right this second, but we're going to try feeding various different nano fish these foods. And while we do so, I'm going to tell you guys some tips and tricks and just some little tidbits about feeding these live foods and how it's useful in spawning fish a lot more easily and a lot quicker, and also growing them a lot quicker and getting a lot more interesting movement and behavior from them compared to feeding flake food or dried foods that are not as dynamic. Now over here we have a big community tank that's in the living room, and in here we've got some medium-sized fish like angelfish and Siamese algae eaters, but we also have some neon tetras, including some that are rather young, and we've got all sorts of different pencilfish that will absolutely love these. Watch them go to work here. Yeah, they absolutely love fresh food. In fact, they actually eat the aphids and or water fleas that occur at the top of your aquarium, and that is why you will see them oftentimes parked out right underneath the surface of the water in your aquarium. Alright, so here's some black phantom tetras, and these are females. You can tell by the red fins on them. And one amazing thing about feeding these live foods, even the Siamese algae eater would prefer to eat that over algae, is what it does for the color of your fish. So check out the black phantom male over here, who's been showing off for the ladies. And also we've got these beautiful rummy nose tetras, and they're all kind of swarming in. We've got these headstanders, spotted headstanders, and like I said, everybody absolutely loves this live food. It is full of several different chemical compounds that help enhance color, and also they have guanine and guarine, which build the crystals underneath the skin of the fish that give them that shiny metallic fish color. So if you want to increase how shiny your fish are, how beautiful they are, and how they kind of shimmer and change different colors rather than the colors on them that are solid, so like the metallic colors you see, or sometimes the iridescent colors in the fins that are change with the different angles that you see your fish from. All of that is from tiny crystals that look like a prism underneath the skin of the fish, and it's made out of guarine and guanine, which are very basic building blocks and crystals that are essential to all life on this planet. They're your basic building blocks of life as well. And they reside in cells called iridophores, which are just like chromatophores, which is where color is stored that is bright, like in the nose of these rummy nose or in their tail. But chromatophores are cells that hold pigment that stays the same, whereas iridophores shimmer and they are simply prisms that reflect light, like I was saying. Let's take a look at some of these Nanostomus pencilfish, these Nanostoma equus specifically, from above. And here we can see that oftentimes floating plants serve as a home. If we look very, very closely, they will serve as a home for things like aphids that are unique to the aquarium environment, as well as the aphids young, those little white guys, the little clearish to white colored ones. And there's also other creatures living amongst the plants in the aquarium, and that includes things like springtails, which are just tiny little creatures, and they can actually use the water surface itself to walk across or jump across. And a lot of times people will message me with questions about this, saying, I think there's little bugs in my aquarium. And you're not wrong, there are little creatures in your aquarium, and they are, using that surface tension. Here goes an aphid right now. They're using that surface tension momentarily, if they do it right, and then hopping onto something safe. If they underestimate or overestimate their jump, then they become fish food. Sometimes they become fish food just for making the jump, period. And that's why these pencilfish hang out right underneath the surface, all together at this angle. They try to keep their body as hidden as possible. They try to keep it down, and they've evolved to hover at this angle where they are as far from as possible away from the top with most of their body, yet their mouth is near it. And so they can zoom right up there and feed the split second they decide it's time for food. Now, another intriguing creature, the spotted headstander, they like these live servings just as well. However, these guys actually tend to eat little creatures like these that hang out right underneath leaves or on wood. And just like the pencilfish, they hang out at this tilted angle most of their lives, hence the name headstanders. And just as the pencilfish do this up here, you can see that the headstanders do this in the water when they're hunting for other little microorganisms. So it's thought by evolutionary biologists that this reduces the profile and the shadow cast over a specific area in the water so that they can then move in and eat these little moving creatures that they're hunting on the leaves. Oftentimes during the day, little creatures like Daphnia or scuds or any of these other little creatures that may even fall in the water, they will hide underneath a leaf or underneath an air pocket on a leaf. And these guys are ready to move in and eat it. All right, shall we present the tank with a challenge? Let's feed them one of those mosquito larvae that has yet to mature. Oh, that was quick. All right, let's see if we have a few more we can toss out. This is great for keeping your fish active and just getting their hormonal signals and chemical signals in their body into the same patterns that they would be in the wild, which can really help with things like spawning, as well as the fact that when there is food in the water, they are happy, and that means, yes, we can have babies, there's food in the water, but it also means that the food that's even too small for them is potential food for their fry. And a lot of fish have evolved to either unconsciously or consciously, however you want to think of it, realize that it's a cue when infusoria and tiny life forms are in the water that are bite-sized for brand newborn fish. It's a cue that it's also time for new fish to come out and feed, just like this baby black phantom tetra here. This is one of the young phantom tetras that has actually been born in this very aquarium. Here you can see another young female, another young male working his way along here, and then up here you can see the adults, the other males, who oftentimes will spin around in circles and show off their beautiful colors and iridescence. You can actually check out a whole lot more about these fascinating fish that get overlooked because they're inexpensive and very common in our hobby, but you can check out more on the species spotlight I did on the black phantom tetras. They are a really great and often overlooked fish. Now, there are a number of fish that actually need live food. They just simply won't eat any food that's not alive. And one of those happens to be wild-caught Apistogramma oftentimes. And I've got a wild-caught Apistogramma Megoptera in this tank. And we'll see if they come out in order to feed. Let's give it just a moment and I'll show you when they show up. That took almost no time whatsoever, and we can see this male Megoptera has spotted his food. So let's release the rest in here for him. And oftentimes you'll actually see color, yes, and we're going to get that display tonight. You'll see colors changing and arising in the fish. And it's basically just a form of them expressing happiness that the fish is doing well and that it is being fed. It's a sign to the other fish around, hey, this is some good food, come over here, check this out. But this guy has colored up quite a bit, so hopefully we'll get a peek of him and his lady, who is somewhere down here. I just saw her a moment ago. Yep, here he comes. So you can see now that he's got a beautiful coloration of yellow coming out in his fins, and on his face you can see the beautiful colorations and the purple on his throat and gills and the iridescent blue in those iridophores, or tiny crystals. That sparkling blue that is so cool. Up through the water column, it can just be a nice sign to them that, hey, there's food for our babies. Let's get together and make this thing a family. So if we take a look in this aquarium, these are aquariums that I've actually filled with things sourced from out in the wild in the ponds that are in my yard. And if we look really closely, we can actually focus on the single cell organisms, the little slipper-shaped parameciums floating around the water, and the algae that is floating around the water, as well as the bigger snack of scuds. These guys here, and Gamaris, which serve as the favorite food of a lot of small to medium-sized fish. So, yet again, with my fish that need to eat live food, a lot of times this is the food of choice. So I will go in with the same turkey baster and I will catch a number of them and then bring them over to the Megoptera tank. And by weight, these little scuds provide an absolutely amazing meal. They have somewhere in the neighborhood of 65% protein by dry weight if they were to be dried out. And some of those went zipping into the moss, and that's where the male went, whereas the females camped out here eating them. Now, it was inevitable that we were also going to end up pulling in some of that single cell organism algae, as well as some of the other single cell life forms that are floating in this water. And the way we deal with that is simply the fact that we already fed them Daphnia and all sorts of little cyclops, which will help us clean that up, and they will eat that. And as they become larger, they may become food themselves for the fish if they're feeling feisty. Another fish that needs live or frozen food is the beautiful Elosoma. This is a little female, I believe. Can't see it quite well enough yet, but we're going to put some live food in here because other than frozen bloodworms, they will only eat live food. And so it's up to you to either have a very cultivated and cultured tank, maybe something like a year or two old that already has life in it for them to eat, or you need to get them actual food. Yeah, actually, this is a little male. He's just not colored up at the moment. But this food is crucial to their well-being, especially when they're wild caught, as they've not learned to eat any sort of prepared food. Another fish that tends to favor the large mosquitoes and scuds, as well as even the little stuff, is the beautiful and interesting, let's clear the light a bit here for you guys, wild betta varieties. And here we have a male and female wild betta. Let me get this serving in their tank. They've actually gone all the way down to the bottom chasing the little insects. But here we have a pair of wild bettas, and they are very excited and become very animated when it's time to eat a live meal. These are some beautiful fish, and these are Betta Malak compuncta, and they were given to me by Lawrence Kent, who happened to have bred some, but he is an incredible fish breeder and world traveler, and he keeps many native fish as well as foreign and exotic fish that require this sort of diet. And since he shares with me these incredible species, I too have to keep that food on hand and ready. Now, another beautiful yet shy fish also really appreciates tiny live food, and that is the Sundadanio axelrodi, or the blue neon rasbora, sometimes called the blue neon Sundadanio. They go by a number of names, but they will sparkle their absolute brightest for you only when they have acidic water and very still, calm water without any predators or anything scaring them, semi-dim light, or at least places to hide plants and sticks and things, and live food. It also helps them to look their best because, yet again, as with any shimmering fish or transparent fish that still has color on it, that's a good sign that it is iridophores rather than chromatophores causing their colors. So rather than pigmentation, it is those metallic and shimmery clusters of cells, and they need that fresh fat, fresh protein and lipids from their diet to look their best. And I figure I'd leave you on a note of a community tank that is enjoying some live food. These are some arc red pencilfish, as well as a little rosy loach, that's that orange one, and then that one with the stripe down the side, that's a lake inlay red tail loach male. And thanks for joining me, guys. I hope you have a wonderful holiday.